Good morning. It's Bernard Nomberg, Nomberg Law Live. We're here with you on another Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central. Thank you for joining us. This morning, I'm very pleased to have Mobile lawyer Steve Nicholas with us. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Bernard. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. It's good to see you, and I appreciate you giving me a few minutes of your time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Steve is a partner with Cunningham Bounds firm in Mobile, and they are one of the leading law firms in the state, if not nationwide, and they have been very instrumental in the BP oil spill cases for so many years. But there's so much more to the firm and what Steve does. I'm also going to talk with Steve for a few minutes about his current role as the president of ALAJ, the Alabama Association for Justice. And that is such a vitally important group and organization that David and our dad and I have proudly been members of for many, many years. But Steve, again, I appreciate your few minutes. And if you would, by way of an introduction, tell us a little bit about your background and what you currently do at the firm.
Yeah, thanks, Bernard. I've been practicing law for a little over 30 years now. Graduated from the University of Alabama. I've been in Mobile since I've graduated from law school, and really concentrating on representing plaintiffs for the last 25 years. My practice is primarily in what we call complex litigation, which is some business on business lawsuits, a fair amount of class actions, mass torts, things like that. And so as you said, we were heavily involved on the BP oil spill claim, on the plaintiff steering committee, which really ran that litigation. And then also negotiating and implementing the settlement of that case, which has been going on now since 2010, so going on eight and a half years. And so that's now wrapping up, and so we're involved in some other significant litigation, as you mentioned, really around the Southeast and sometimes around the country, because those big cases tend to get consolidated in one jurisdiction or the other, and it can really be anywhere in the country where we will end up representing a group of plaintiffs in those cases.
And for you personally, Steve, what type of cases do you concentrate on?
Mainly, like I say, those complex cases. I do a fair amount of commercial litigation work. So as opposed to the personal injury side, where my law firm is very active in personal injury, medical malpractice, those kind of cases, I tend to get involved more in what we call the numbers cases, where they're more about financial things and breaches of contract, fraud, things like that, where people have been cheated or stolen from, and those kind of things. You know, recently, my partner Lucy Tufts and I represented a group of hospital employees who discovered that their hospital employer had failed to make $150 million in pension plan contributions. And so we filed suit in that case. We're able to get it settled and get all that money repaid. So those are the kind of things that I tend to get involved with.
Well, I know you've been very active also with ALAJ all these years. In fact, you've moved up the ranks, so you're now the number one guy right now within the organization from a layperson's or a volunteer standpoint. And on behalf of our firm, David, Dad, and myself, we thank you for putting in your time currently as the president of ALAJ.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks to y'all for being active in the organization. We really rely on all of the lawyers around the state who are members of the organization to do what we do. And, you know, what the motto of the association is good lawyers and good laws. And so that's really kind of describes what we do. I mean, part of our job is to educate lawyers, give lawyers a forum to share ideas and to, do the things that they need to do to better represent their clients and to advocate for their clients. But then the other thing, and what really I get involved with now as president of the association, is good laws. And that means being very active in the political process, trying to help candidates that see the world the way we see the world, which is protecting individual rights, and then also lobbying in the legislature to really try to uphold the Seventh Amendment, which is the right to trial by jury. And that's really our core function. Unfortunately, we're oftentimes the only people in the room in the legislature who are really looking out for the individual citizens of the state to try to make sure their rights aren't taken away by some of the special interest groups that are out there.
Steve, I'll get to what's coming down the pike for 2019 with the legislation in a few minutes. But I want to step back, and for folks who don't know what the Alabama Association for Justice is, what type of organization, who belongs, who can belong, give us a brief overview of the organization, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, the membership of the organization are lawyers who represent consumers, represent individuals who are injured in one way or another. And our goal is to try to make sure that the playing field remains level for people like that, where they can get a fair shake in the one place where, oftentimes it's not about how much money you have or how much influence you have, and that's in the courtroom, that in the courtroom, everybody should be on the same footing. And so we really work hard to try to make sure that remains a level playing field through our work in the legislature and the court system. So it's basically plaintiffs' lawyers, people like you and me, all over the state who participate in the organization, help fund the organization, and do a lot of work on behalf of our
who are interested in the organization. Who should they contact to find more information? Who should they call or look online, those kind of things, if they feel like it's an organization they want to get involved in?
Yeah, sure. They're certainly welcome to call me in Mobile anytime and be glad to talk further about it. If you go online and look up ALAJ, or the Alabama Association for Justice, you'll see the other officers, which are really scattered throughout the state. Or Johnny Smith, who works here full-time as our outreach director, is certainly a good person to talk to about joining the organization or getting more involved.
Okay, and we'll put all of the contact information for the association in the comments section, so folks will know what to click on and how to get in touch with people. And I'll put, if it's okay with you, I'll also put your law firm's contact information in there as well.
That'd be great.
Talk to us. Let's shift gears a little bit, and I appreciate you giving me your time this morning. And for folks who are just joining us or just tuning in, I'm talking with Steve Nicholas. Steve is with the Cunningham Bounds Law Firm out in Mobile. He is currently serving as the president of ALAJ, the Alabama Alabama Association for Justice, which is trying to level the playing field for those people who are injured, whether they're physical injuries or monetary damages or whatever it may be. Steve, I want to push to what's coming up in the 2019 legislation. I want you to kind of give us an idea of what topics, what issues are kind of hot button issues that we need to be looking out for.
Yeah, a couple of things we know are going to happen. Workers' compensation reform has been sort of at the front of topics for a long time. There have been a couple of attempts to do some things there. There was actually a judge in Birmingham that declared the whole statutory scheme unconstitutional because the amount of payments to the workers really hasn't been increased in so long I can't remember. And of course, the other side, the people that pay want some reforms. They want some changes, which some of them make sense. And so we've been negotiating for years trying to get something done on that. This year, the Alabama State Bar put together a task force of both people on the insurance side and people on our side representing injured workers. And a bill has been proposed that's just recently come out. And so that's being reviewed, but that's going to be a very hot topic. And we really are hopeful that through this committee that the bar put together, we're going to get some traction there and be able to get something done to try to help people. In the same way, one of the other sort of similar situations is what we call the municipal cap bill. People may not know, but if you're injured by a city, a town, municipality in the state, there's a $100,000 cap on the amount that you can sue the city for under Alabama law. That statute was enacted in 1976, and the amount has never been increased. And so $100,000 in medical inflation would now be, I think, $800,000 is what it would take to get the same amount of medical care that it would have happened in 1976. And so that statute is very old and archaic. We're trying to get some traction there. And then one of the other things we're working on are hospital lien statute. Again, we have a situation where people have health insurance, they get hurt in an accident or through no fault of their own, and some medical providers are refusing to take their health insurance, and instead trying to get at their recovery from the injured party so that they can get a higher reimbursement rate. And we think that's just fundamentally unfair, that if you pay for health insurance, your health insurance ought to pay your medical bills. And so those are some of the things we're working on for this upcoming session. And then, unfortunately, every year we go into the session knowing that certain special interests are going to be trying to get special legislation to give them immunity or give them some kind of protection. And we spend a lot of our time reviewing legislation and trying to make sure that those kind of bills don't get passed.
Well, on behalf of our law firm, all of those areas, all of those potential bills that you just mentioned, they affect our firm. So we thank you on our behalf for all the hard work the association's doing to help get some reform done in each of those areas.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, we don't have a lot of other people over there doing what we do. And so every year, we review 300 to 400 bills, and we read every word. Because you'd be surprised, they'll slip a sentence in here or there. And oftentimes, if somebody doesn't review it just to raise the red flag, those bills can pass with no notice. And so we review them. We have a team of lawyers around the state. Every morning, they read the bills that were introduced the night before and try to identify the ones that we need to just make sure the legislature knows what they're passing. And that they know the impact of it. And oftentimes what we're trying to deal with are what we call unintended consequences. They don't really realize how the nuance of that bill might affect things. And so it's just educating the legislature. By far, most people in the legislature are trying to do the right thing, but they just need help being, guided in some of the impact, some of the legislation they're trying to.
Well, I know that my brother David has gone down several of the last years and participated in those reading days. So I know that's vitally important work that everybody pitches in a little bit. Steve, are there lawyers from all around the state who are currently members of ALAJ?
Yes, we're a statewide organization, and of course we're run by a board. And our board of directors, we have lawyers on the board from Huntsville to Mobile and everywhere in between. We try to make sure that we're geographically diverse and all of that. And yes, of the hundreds of members that we have, they're really every county in the state has at least one member, and most of them have multiple members.
Now, coming up in the winter, I know each year is a big conference that's held in Birmingham. Give us just a brief overview. What's in store next month?
Yeah, well, what we're really trying to do next month again is to bring in some of the stalwarts of the profession to talk about what works, and that goes to the good lawyer side of what we do, but to talk about some of the things that have been successful in their practices and to share that with everybody else. Again, one of the unique things about being a plaintiff's lawyer is once you find out something that works, you really don't keep it to yourself. We help each other a lot, and that's both within this organization and outside of this organization. But plaintiffs' lawyers like for everybody to do well on their side of things. And so what the association does is it really creates a vehicle to share those ideas and to share the things that work, both in these meetings that we have. And of course, we have a fairly active, very active list service where we exchange emails and talk about, what goes on from the simple question of which county would be better to file my lawsuit in to very complicated questions. And, I'm proud of the fact that on more than one occasion, we've had people in trial, in the heat of battle, and something comes up that the other side brought up that they weren't prepared for, and they can literally get on their phone and say, hey, does anybody, have an answer to this question? And at the drop of a hat, somebody will get a case cite and an argument that gets them where they need to be. And again, that's the camaraderie and the help that we all give everybody in the organization that we're really proud of.
It's so important that you just mentioned that the camaraderie, the willingness to share what you know with others within the organization. I've been on both sides of that. I have been in the heat of battle and needed answers quickly, and it's amazing. Small law firms, big law firms, all around the state, somebody's going to pitch in. You're going to hear 4, 5, 6 answers within the hour usually.
Right.
And on the other hand, David and I both try. We're just a 2-lawyer law firm, with Dad being of counsel, happily retired in your part of the state. But we try to contribute because we get as much out of it as we put into it. And I think that's just one of the keys, that the way this organization has done so well for so many years.
Yeah, no, that's right. And like I say, it's amazing sometimes how quickly, because, everybody's done something that has come up before in just about everybody's practice that they can help contribute that. And people aren't bashful about it. And it's really been a great help.
It really has. And Steve, I sure appreciate your time this morning and sharing with us about the ALAJ, the organization that it is. And we really appreciate you currently serving as its president. We sure do.
Well, again, thanks for the opportunity. Always good to talk to you, and hope to talk to you soon.
I hope to see you in January at the upcoming conference.
We'll do that.
Guys, thank you again for spending some time with us, whether it's live or recorded later on. This is NOMBERG Law Live. We come to you every Tuesday at 10 o'clock. We'll be back with you again next Tuesday. We hope you guys